Hi friends, welcome back. I hope you're snuggled into a comfy spot today, maybe with a warm drink in hand or a soft breeze coming through the window. Today's story is one I've been so excited to share. It's about the very first time I ever traveled abroad, about wide eyes, quiet wonder, and the simple joys of discovering a world so different, yet somehow familiar. And don't worry, this one is soft and heartwarming from beginning to end. No stress, just peace. So, let's begin. I'd never been on a plane before, not even once. But one early spring morning, I stood at the airport clutching a brand new passport and a slightly oversized backpack. My destination? A small town nestled in the hills of southern France. Not Paris, not the big cities, just a peaceful village with winding streets, flower-covered balconies, and a tiny guest house run by a woman named Solène, who had a smile like sunshine and a cat named Hugo. I remember how my heart beat faster as I boarded the plane. Not from fear, really, but from anticipation. The idea that I was going somewhere new, completely on my own, felt both wild and gentle. I had packed a journal, some lavender tea bags, just in case, and a scarf my grandmother had knitted for me years ago. It still smelled like home. After many sleepy hours in the air, and one small connecting train, I finally stepped off into something that didn't feel like real life. The air was different, softer, somehow, warmer. The sky above was a dusky blue, and the hills rolled off in the distance like a painting. Cobblestone paths curved through the town, and little white butterflies danced between geraniums in window boxes. Solène greeted me at the gate of the guest house, wearing an apron dusted with flour and holding a teacup in one hand. "Bienvenue," she said, and gave me the kindest nod. Hugo the cat peeked out from under a nearby bench, his eyes blinking slowly, as if to say, "You'll be safe here." My room was small but lovely, with soft curtains that swayed in the breeze and a window that looked out over a garden full of thyme and roses. There was a tiny writing desk with a vase of fresh daisies and a welcome note in cursive: "Rest well. The countryside waits for you." That first evening, I took a walk as the sun began to set. Everything felt like a dream. Birds called softly from the olive trees, and the houses glowed in gold and terracotta hues. I passed locals chatting over fences, a boy riding his bike with a baguette tucked under his arm, and an old man playing an accordion near the fountain in the town square. He nodded at me. I smiled back, and just like that, I realized I didn't feel lost. I felt welcomed. That night, I fell asleep with the window open, the scent of wild herbs drifting in, and the sound of crickets humming in the fields. I clutched my journal to my chest, heart full of something soft and new, and that was only the beginning. The next morning, I woke to birdsong, real birdsong, not a phone alarm. Through the lace curtains, the sun filtered in golden and warm. I padded down the wooden stairs, following the smell of something sweet and buttery, and found Solène in the kitchen, already halfway through baking a lemon cake. "You like breakfast in the garden?" she asked, placing a warm cup of tea in my hands. I nodded. That sounds perfect. And it was. The garden behind the guest house was like something out of a storybook. Bees floated lazily from lavender to lavender. A stone path wound its way past a tiny fig tree, and a blue wooden bench shaded by a vine-draped pergola. I sat there, notebook in my lap, as Solène brought out a tray of fresh bread, jam, and a slice of the lemon cake still steaming from the oven. We didn't speak much. We didn't need to. The clinking of teacups and the breeze rustling the rosemary said enough. Later that day, I decided to explore more of the countryside. Solène lent me an old bike with a wicker basket on the front. I packed a water bottle, a sandwich wrapped in paper, and a map she'd hand-drawn just for me. It was more doodle than cartography. Tiny illustrations of sunflowers, donkeys, and hills marked the way. As I pedaled past golden fields and old stone cottages, I felt like I'd stepped into a slower world, the kind where time pauses long enough for you to really see things. A dog barked lazily from behind a gate. Butterflies flickered around my handlebars, and every so often, I'd stop to breathe it all in olive trees stretching out across gentle hills, the buzz of summer in the grass, the sound of someone singing softly from a nearby vineyard. I found a quiet hilltop and spread my scarf on the ground, eating my lunch while watching the town below. Tiny people moved between markets and cafes. It was like watching a miniature play show full of life, yet so peaceful. That evening, back at the guest house, I found a small envelope tucked under my teacup. For tomorrow, if you like markets. Inside was a list in neat handwriting. Fresh cherries, linen napkins, and a note that simply read, "Don't forget to taste the lavender honey." The next day would bring more gentle surprises. But that night, under a sky so full of stars it looked like spilled sugar, I sat on the bench in the garden, sipping tea and smiling softly to myself. Traveling abroad for the first time hadn't just shown me a new country. It was slowly introducing me to parts of myself I didn't know I'd been missing. The market morning came just as Solène promised, breezy and full of color. I followed the little hand-drawn map through winding lanes until I reached the village square, now bustling with stalls under striped awnings. Everything looked like a painting. Piles of cherries gleamed like rubies. Jars of golden honey caught the sunlight, and tables overflowed with crusty breads, fresh herbs, handmade soaps, and soft blue linens folded in neat stacks. I wandered slowly, not in a hurry. A kindly woman with silver hair let me sample her lavender honey on a piece of warm bread, and I almost sighed out loud. It tasted like summer. I picked up a linen napkin with tiny embroidered daisies and imagined using it at my kitchen table back home, remembering this place every time I did. There was music, too, a small trio playing soft accordion and violin, the notes floating through the air like petals. I sat near a stone fountain to enjoy it all, writing bits of what I saw in my journal, sketching the patterns of people's laughter, baskets, dogs asleep under tables. When I returned to the guest house that afternoon, Solène was in the garden with Hugo, the cat curled lazily across her lap. She looked up with a knowing smile. "You look like you found something," she said. "I think I found about 10 somethings." I laughed, holding up my little bag of treasures. That evening, Solène invited me to join her for a farewell dinner. We ate in the garden, under the vine-draped pergola. There were glowing candles in jars, tomato tart from her grandmother's recipe, and a pear compote that made my eyes close from delight. She told me stories about her childhood in the village and how she'd inherited the guest house from her aunt. I told her about my life back home, the quiet town I missed, and how I never expected to feel so known by a place so far away. As the stars returned, I took one last walk around the garden, memorizing the scent of rosemary and lemon balm, the sound of Hugo purring nearby, the glow of lanterns hanging gently from the trees. The next morning, I packed my bag slowly. I placed my journal and embroidered napkin right on top, next to a wrapped jar of lavender honey and a little envelope from Solène. On the train, I opened it. Inside was a note in her neat handwriting. "Don't forget that this place knows you now, and wherever you go, you carry it with you." And I did. I still do, even now. Back home, sometimes I'll steep a cup of lavender tea, open my windows to let in the breeze, and let the quiet beauty of that trip settle back into my heart. Traveling abroad for the first time didn't just show me new sights, it showed me a gentler version of myself. Someone curious, someone brave in soft ways, someone who slows down to notice. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this story wrapped you in calm and reminded you of the beauty in the world, don't forget to like, subscribe, and come back soon for more gentle tales. You'll always have a place here, where the stories are soft, the tea is warm, and you are so very welcome. Until next time, travel softly, live gently, and carry the beauty with you.